بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Qur'an, the jewels of the Qur'an and its pearls. We have reached verses 113 to 117, and it's about the people of the book. Very important verses indeed. But though Imam Ghazali did not list the verses, relevant verses really, before verse 113, still relevant to understanding the 113, ليسوا سواء. I will read it inshallah. These are verses 110 to 112. And the most important thing is, I think, that since we talk about the people of the book, verse 110 says, أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خير لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. You are the best community ever raised for humanity. You encourage good, forbid evil, and believe in Allah. Had the people of the book believed, it would have been better for them. Some of them are faithful, but most are rebellious. They transgress. In verse 112, it does say they'll be stricken with disgrace wherever they go unless they are protected by a covenant with Allah or a treaty with the people. They have invited the displeasure of Allah and have been branded with misery for rejecting Allah's revelations and murdering His prophets unjustly. This is a fair reward, for this is a reward. This is what they will get for their disobedience and violations. ذلك بما عصوا وكانوا يعتدون. So these verses, two verses, talk about the people of the book. Had they believed, some of them are believers, some of them are not. Now, in verse 113, which is really the first verse here in this selection, ليسوا سواء من أهل الكتاب أمة قائمة يتلون آيات الله آناء الليل وهم يسجدون يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويسارعون في الخيرات وأولئك من الصالحين وما يفعلوا من خير فلن يكفروه والله عليم بالمتقين. We still have 116 and 117, but let's start now with the 116. ليسوا سواء. Yet they are not all alike. They are not on equal footing, the people of the book. There are some Muslim scholars, for example, there are those who said that the inequality is between the people of the book and the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. قالوا لا يستوي أهل الكتاب وأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Those who opted for this position mentioned the hadith of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, in which Ibn Mas'ud narrated that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم delayed the night prayer. أخر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلاة العشاء. Then he went out to the mosque, and people were waiting for the congregational prayer. He said, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, أما إنه ليس من أهل هذه الأديان أحد يذكر الله هذه الساعة غيره. Verily, none of the people of all these religions, meaning the non-Muslims, at this hour, none of them mentions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this time, at this hour. So they have used this particular hadith to support the position that it's a comparison between the people of the book and the Ummah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it's not. The Wallahu Alam, it's about the people of the book themselves. It's a comparison between one group and the other from amongst the people of the book. Some of them were believers, some of them. Now, believers, it could be believers. Historically, they believed they were monotheistic. They were Muslims. Muslims in the not as followers of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ at the time. So, for example, the children of Sayyidina Yaqub, Prophet Jacob, peace be upon him, they were Muslims, but they were, of course, they were not. It would be anachronistic to say that they were followers of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They have Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam asked them really whether they, what will, in whom they will believe, meaning after his death, and they said we will believe in in the God of your fathers, and his fathers. It's Aba. Who are the Aba here in this case? They call them the patriarchs, but the Aba here, it is, we talk about Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq. One God, and to him we submit, Muslimun. So this is really in that sense, the universal message, and there should be no differences in the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless whether we talk about Adam alayhi salam, Noah, Sayyidina Noah alayhi salam, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, and his families, if you will, family. It's one family, two branches, and the followers of later prophets. Prophet Moses, for example, his followers, Jesus Christ, peace upon him, his followers, all of them, there were those who believed and there were those who rejected. They were disbelievers. And when we talk about the Muslims, the Muslim followers of Jesus Christ, peace upon him, we don't talk about post-revelational constructs and Christian sects that emerged later on. That would not be included in the notion of Muslims who followed Jesus Christ historically. We don't talk about nowadays. So, for example, there is something today, they call it if we talk about the evangelicals, for example, today, and it's an important their role is extremely important. Not all of them are supporters of the United States foreign policy, but it seems that over the overwhelming majority, according to Pew Research, they vote for the Republicans, and they have their own end of time scenario, if you will. And we can see that, and here read basically some of them at this stage, uh, using a biblical narrative, a Zionist narrative, also regarding the Palestinian issue. But going back to the notion of belief. So some historically some believed and some did not believe. Like with the case of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, some of the people believed and some did not believe. Now those who believed in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and became Muslim, later on some of them deviated. Obviously, some of them deviated, um, and those Muslims who subscribe to a Neoplatonic worldview. They reinterpreted Islam, using Greek philosophy, but in Neoplatonism in particular. They are very close to the post-revelational Christians, because they also subscribe to Neoplatonic worldview, especially when we talk about Augustine. Aquinas was Aristotelian. Now, those who are described in this verse here in 113, they are the ones who they became believers. I mean, the people of the book. We have Jews and we have Christians. And when amongst the people of the book, for example, we know that some of them were rabbis even, because it says في من آمن من أحبار أهل الكتاب كعبد الله بن سلام, for example, وأسد بن عبيد وثعلبة بن شعبة. So the those who became believers, meaning they believed in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Some chose not to; they were free. For example, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam hosted the Christian delegation of Najran in the mosque, in his mosque in Medina, and you know very well that at the time they used animals to travel. Najran is southwest part of the Arabian Peninsula. Say that they have traveled all this distance in about, let's say, a week or two. I'm not an expert about how far animals could cover, but they would arrive literally tired, exhausted. Their animals will be exhausted, and they needed to rest. There were no hotels, no motels. The mosque was the only public space, and the Prophet ﷺ hosted them in the mosque, and he allowed them to pray. Okay. It might sound shocking to some ears, but that's what happened. They chose not in that context. They chose not to become Muslims. They listened to the Prophet ﷺ, the story of Jesus Christ, Maryam alayhi salam, and Jesus Christ, Al Imran. They listened and they went home, and they chose to remain Christians. That's of course. So some became later on believers, some did not. Same thing with the Jews. Now, when they believed, they were described as some among the people of the book who are upright, who recite Allah's revelations throughout the night, prostrating in prayer. وَهُمْ يَسْجُدُونَ. As an act of worship, prostration, it did exist in the past. You read the Torah, you read the Bible, you read the Old Testament, and you will find at certain moments the phrase, and he fell on his face. That's prostration. That's exactly prostration. Now, why did they stop historically? Why they opted? I mean, of course, with the not only some stopped, prostrating themselves, but some opted even not to uphold the law, the Sharia, the Halakha. Both of them etymologically are identical. So some become Muslims, and subhanallah, and they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They believed in the last day, the hereafter, and they advocated good and they prohibited evil, and they race with one another in doing good. They are truly among the righteous. This is why, if you read, for example, in the Quran, this is in the previous surah, in Surah Al-Baqarah. إن الذين آمنوا الذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Verily, those who believed, meaning the Muslims, those والذين هادوا, those who were Jews, the one Nasara, those who were Christians, those who were Sabians, have believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the day of judgment, and they have done good deed, they will have their reward with their Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They should not fear and should not be sad. It's not that, it does not cover really those who rejected. So we talk about the notion of salvific value. It's about believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is believing in the last day and doing good. And the reward will be, of course, ultimately paradise, inshallah. The relationship, since we talk about they are not on equal footing, even those who choose not to, and they are absolutely free in doing so, we talk about in this life, they should not be forced at all in any fashion. لا إكراه في الدين. There is no compulsion in religion. They have the right to be treated well, and this is why you will find in chapter 5 of Surah Al-Ma'idah verses about food, about marriage, meaning with the people of the book, in relation to the people of the book. وطعام أهل الكتاب حل لكم وطعامكم حل لهم. The food of the people of the book is lawful for you. Your food is lawful for them. We share a meal. Chaste woman from amongst the people of the book. Trust the Qur'an. The Qur'an speaks about those amongst the people of the book that you can trust. I'm going to translate liberally now to make a point. Qintar, I'm going to translate this as a ton of gold, okay? There are those amongst the people of the book that you can trust with a ton of gold. And there are those amongst them you cannot trust with a penny. There were no pennies. That's just the point is. You know very well that is also the case with Muslims. So on the level of, if you talk about, either you talk about faith, principles, the worldview, or you talk about uh, the reality, the social uh, picture, what people do. It's not what they believe. And you will find that there will be a discrepancy between any community's ideals and reality. Do not compare your ideals with the reality of someone else. And they should not compare their ideals with the reality of someone else. That's not fair. If you have to, then you compare a reality with reality, but there's really it depends on what is it that one is trying to achieve. The amazing thing is that with all this, we do have originally we have the honoring the children of Adam. That's really very important to begin with, and that they have been preferred above other creatures. We have the notion of bir, which we also use to treat in treating in dealing with our parents. The same thing about the people of the book. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not prohibit us also. أن تبروهم, really. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not prohibit us against this state of birth, dealing with the people of the book justly. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who are just. But there's something, but they are the ones who did not fight you because of your religion and did not force you out from your homes. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. It cannot be, the case that Muslims will be subjected to all kinds of ills, and then you ask them to be to love their enemy. That's not really. If the love of the enemy means that you would pray for them that God will guide them to Islam, that's one thing. But to love them in the state in which they subject, and it's not only about Muslims. When I think about the dropping the 2 bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Japanese were not really distributing chocolates to other peoples, but dropping these bombs, and they have showed signs they wanted to end the war, and especially today, like in the Gaza Strip, still the unfolding genocide. We would love that it would be something else, a different. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ stood up for the funeral procession of a Jew, and he was told it's a Jew, and he said, "Isn't it a soul?" We spoke about the Christians of Najran being hosted in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. The Charter of Medina is like the Constitution of Medina. Think about it this way. More than 1400 years we have a constitution that recognized by name the Jewish tribes. Some people might not say it because of the pain that exists today, but listen to this sentence. وَيَهُودْ بَنِي عَوْفٍ أُمَّةٌ مَعَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And the Jewish tribe of Bani Auf form one ummah. This is the political ummah with the Muslims. This is the when you talk about building a society, building a country. Just think today about the magnanimity of the Hashemite royal family in Jordan and the status of the Christians. Okay, I have said this example before. If you have two drivers, let's say in front of the airport or a train station, or two drivers, and they have a dispute about whose turn was it. One of them is a Muslim and the other is a Christian. Their dispute is co-drivers, not because one is a Muslim and the other is Christian. And if you bring religion to the picture, then it's your intention to create a different kind of problem. And not only Muslims provided the Christians and the Jews with that kind of role in the society. Everything has to be contextualized also, but they were also at the receiving end in Abyssinia, in Ethiopia today. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when the Muslims were persecuted in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ sent his followers, two waves of Muslim migrants at the time. He sent them to Abyssinia. He told them there was a Christian king in Islamic literature. This king, the Negus, became Muslim. Indeed, as in verses 115 and also 115, وَمَا يَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَلَا يُكْفَرُهُ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالْمُتَّقِينَ. They will never be denied the reward for any good they have done, and Allah has perfect knowledge of those mindful of Him. 116. Those who disbelieve. So there are those who disbelieve, and in this context it means also from amongst the people of the book. Those who chose not to become Muslims. In either meaning, in the historical meaning, sense of being Muslim, or as follower of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Those who disbelieve, the disbelievers, neither the wealth nor children of disbelievers will be of any benefit to them against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is they who will be the residents of the fire. They will be there forever. And the last verse in this selection, 117. The good they do in this worldly life, is like the harvest of an evil people struck by a bitter wind. كمثل ريح فيها صر. Bitter wind is fine. It has been described as being very cold. It has been described, like the word sir, has been described as including hail and ice, and also a wind that has fire. If you have ever seen a tornado, some tornadoes, I'm not going to go into the scientifically how these are formed. If you talk about the natural phenomenon, just look up tornadoes with fire. Sometimes even they call them fire-nado, fire twisters. But that's one another interpretation of the words sir. كمثل ريح فيها صر. And the word rih is typically, we have rih and we have riyah. Both mean wind. The plural riyah is usually bringing something good. Riyah being lawaqah, pollination, for example. especially if you talk about the clouds yielding rain. So something good usually. Rih is usually about a punishment. So the harvest of evil. So like the harvest of evil, people struck by a bitter wind, destroying it completely. Allah never wronged them, but they wronged themselves. There are wonderful people out there amongst the people of the book who know what is right, what is just. They stand on the right side of history. Personally, I know people who are wonderful, but if we talk about faith, there are serious differences. So, inshallah, we have shed light on these verses, and until the next session, in which we will deal with verses 128 and 129, or at least these two verses, inshallah. Until then, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.